Oh, this isn't an ET review. Sorry, this is a Stranger Things season 1 that I'm talking about to you guys tonight. Hey guys, it's past midnight here, cadets, and I have yesterday morning I finished binging Stranger Things season 1 for the first time. I've been meaning to watch it for pretty much ever since it aired. I just never got around to it. I don't know why it took me so long, but with season 2 coming out in a few weeks, October 27th, I just said, you know what, I need to go ahead and watch season 1. And it was only 8 episodes, which was a nice surprise. So I flew through that thing. It took me probably an afternoon, evening, and morning to watch the entire season 1. So, give a brief premise of it. I'm not going to worry too much about spoilers because those of you who are watching this have probably seen Stranger Things by now, since it's been a year. Basically, in I think 1983, we follow this group of friends, these boys, and they come across this girl who is escaped from a facility, and she's practically a weapon. She's an experiment, kind of, and it pretty much deals with them keeping her safe. But before that, though, the kind of main premise, what starts off the show, is one of their friends named Will gets he goes missing, mysteriously one night. And that's pretty much what kicks off the main premise of the show. Everything kind of goes from there. And so the show's hyped up a bunch, and I was naturally excited for it. One of the things I heard about it going in was that if you loved a lot of 80s entertainment, if you were a child of the 80s, or if you loved 80s sci-fi, like say E.T. or Close Encounters of the Third Kind, that was the late 70s, but still. Or stuff like Star Wars, you get Star Wars references. The Goonies, Stand By Me, an 80s classic film. If you were a fan of stuff like that, then you would love Stranger Things. And after watching season 1, for myself and keeping my expectations level, I have to say that all that praise is true. I loved season 1 of Stranger Things. I was fully into it, and it grabbed me from the start. First of all, what makes it, what can make or break a lot of films and television shows for me is kids. Even as a kid, I found a lot of kid actors annoying. And kid actors can be annoying in the sense that not like a kid is actually annoying, but just like they're not actually able to act that well. And it just hinders the performance, and you don't feel like you're watching a real kid. Well, these kids are all great. I don't know all their names right now off the top of my head. I'm sure I will soon. But all of them are great. It was a very good cast of kids. They had great chemistry. And you believe that they grew up next to each other. You believe that they were best friends, that they knew each other. That was great to see. One of the things I loved about the show, being set in the 80s especially, versus now being 2017, is that you see them going outside. You see them using their imaginations, having adventures, and not just looking at their phones or playing video games. I mean, not that I'm attacking that stuff. That stuff has its place, but it was still great to see an old school type of feel to these friends before cell phones or any of that stuff. That was awesome. And obviously they have their bullies. They're kind of nerdy kids. They're smart. They're into stuff that's nerdy, considered geeky. And they get bullied by these two really despicable kids. And it just felt so 80s. To me, it felt like something that could have been made in the 80s. And that was great. And then just going to the rest of the cast, their parents are very good. Winona Ryder, who was an 80s teen star, is a mom in this film. And that was really something to see. First of all, she looks, in my opinion, she looks very nice. Better with age, honestly. She did a great job on the show. I thought that her acting was very good. And she brought a lot of emotional complexity to it. Because she's the mother of the kid that goes missing. So that was great to see. She has an older teenage son. He kind of reminded me of like a mixture of two 80s stars, Kevin Bacon and C. Thomas Howell from back in the 80s. So that was pretty funny too. He was great in the show. I will say that the older sister of, I believe Mike is his name. Mike is kind of the main protagonist. Um, she annoyed me at first, but at the same time, I liked her subplot, and because I thought it was actually done well, and it ultimately did tie into the main show, so that was cool. Um, and all in all, yeah, I mean, just everyone in the show. If I'll get to the main one in a second, even though I said Mike is the main protagonist, he's not, in my opinion, he's not the standout. He's not the star of the show. I'll get to that in a moment. But everybody does well, and that sense of mystery, that sense of adventure, that sense of childhood, but also danger. The sense of adults being misunderstanding and being kind of blind, like that. All that stuff comes into play, and it felt so much like E.T. to me, but with a little more of a horror spin for sure, like Alien and stuff like that. But it definitely gave me E.T. vibes, which I love because E.T. is one of my all-time favorite films, and I just love that '80s, those classic '80s like childhood adventures. So that was great to see. Um, anyway, going back to the cast, there's one I want to talk about, and I was hearing the buzz about her before I watched the show. That's Millie Bobby Brown. That's her name. She plays 11 on the show, and 11 is the girl who is an experiment that winds up being a part of the kids, the part of their group. She's the only girl in the group at this point. Millie Bobby is fantastic. The character of 11 is so interesting and intriguing. That girl's awesome. Her powers are awesome. And I remember I saw Logan earlier this year. Daphne Keane, who plays X-23, is fantastic in that movie. But, and I remember saying, man, I've never seen a little girl that scary, that intimidating before. I've never seen a little girl that I would be that scared of. Well, scratch that. Millie Bobby Brown's 11. I would be more scared of her than X-23, to be completely honest. The stuff that she does is insane, but it was great. And I'm so curious to see where they take this in season 2. I'm excited. I'm actually going to watch the trailer and do a trailer reaction to season 2 right after I finish up this review, and that's going to go up soon afterwards. But anyway, to sum up season 1, yeah, very emotional. I cried at points. I felt so badly for certain characters. I also want to say Nancy, who's the older sister, to Mike, the boyfriend she had, Steve. First, really didn't like him, but at the same time, I didn't think he was as bad as he seemed. And it turned out to be true. He turned out to actually be a good guy. You know, one who was a little insecure and obviously and whatnot, but he turned out to be a good guy. I'm glad they didn't go the cliche route of keeping him a jerk. That was nice. The stuff with Will and his brother and Winona Ryder, the mother, that stuff made me cry. It was very emotional. Some of 11 scenes made me cry because I felt for her. All in all, what do I give Stranger Things out of 10? I think I'm going to give it a solid. I'm going to give it a solid 8.9 out of 10. Really good stuff. No huge flaws to take away. It's just not a perfect 10 for me, but 8.9 out of 10 is still a great rating. Let me know what you guys saw of Stranger Things and how excited are you for season 2. I'm really excited for it. Thanks as always for watching. This is Lance from Cinematic Galaxy, signing off.